Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Higher or Lower, brought to you by Sporting Index, Spreadex and oddschecker. I'm your host, George Ellick. I'm delighted to be joined by Jack Wright and by Dan Worth.
Hello.
As we look ahead to this weekend's fixtures in the Premier League. We've been doing this for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And you've just told me that we just covered the televised games.
I'm surprised you've not worked it out yet.
I had, but I thought you kind of cherry-picked which televised games we were showing because there are clashes.
Yeah.
But it turns out you only do championship games when there's no clash with the Premier League.
Yeah, basically the Friday games.
As someone who loves the EFL, I should probably walk out of the studio and take a moral high ground and say that is elitist.
Potentially. I think you get enough chances to talk about the Championship, don't you, in your life?
Yeah, that is true. Thank you. Well, diffused. This is the show where we look ahead to the weekend's games, televised games, in the Premier League, in the Championship when there are no Premier League games on. And we look at the spread betting markets for Sporting Index and Spreadex, and we say whether we think the eventual result of those markets will be higher or lower than the midpoint. If you're unfamiliar with spread betting, go and check out the sites. They've got good guides on there to inform you how this all works, and I'll talk through the markets as we go through them. Before we get to the first game, Jack, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good.
Yeah, very good.
We had my nap last week was Friday Night Football. It was Pompey selling the supremacy, Sheffield Wednesday over Pompey. Pompey 1-0 up half-time, lost 2-1.
Yeah.
That turned out to be the start of a weekend that followed a pretty similar theme. Because I backed Luton against Coventry, which was the live game on Sky. On Saturday, they were 2-0 up. They lost 3-2. And live game on Sunday, I backed Borough to beat your boys, Norwich. You were there.
What a mistake to make. I was there.
3-1 to Borough. They missed the penalty and they draw 3-3.
Dancing in the aisles.
So I watched 3 games. I had 3 bets. All 3 teams that I backed were winning, and none of them won.
I know. That game, the Borough game.
I'm over it.
Yeah, I'm glad you are. Yeah, I'm glad you got it out.
Yeah.
Thanks for the cancelling session. Work.
Yeah.
Good. Usual fees.
Borough game?
Borough game. That was my girlfriend's, one of her best friends. It was her first ever live game of football to attend.
What did she think?
Well, I nearly banned her at half time. I we were 3-1 down. But, first defeat in a year at Carrow Road. But she obviously loved it. Yeah, she had a fantastic time. Looking forward to going again.
Excellent stuff. Okay, well, let's talk about the games coming up this weekend. And we're going to start with Newcastle hosting Arsenal. Total goals is the market we're looking at here. Arsenal and Newcastle both playing on Wednesday evening and both enjoying good victories in the Carabao Cup. Newcastle seeing off Chelsea with relative ease. Arsenal seeing off Preston with relative ease. Total goals is the market we're looking at here. 2.9 is the midpoint, 2.8 to sell, 3 to buy. That is with Spreadex. Are we going higher or are we going lower? So that is 3 or more for higher, 2 or fewer for lower.
Correct.
3, 2, 1.
Whoa!
I thought I'd be the only one.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though
it's depressed.
Sorry.
So when I meant the only one, I thought between me and Jack, I thought I'd be the only
Yeah, okay.
Dan, given that you love goals and you're buying here, let us know what the reason is behind it.
I just think 2.9 midpoint, only needing 3 goals to get a win for the sake of this game. I've said it all season. Generally, I'm just going to go higher at that. Particularly when you have Arsenal, who are one of the best attacking sides in the league. And this game is a must-win for Arsenal. Like, they're 5 points off the pace already after a tough couple of fixtures, keeping in mind their injuries and suspensions, etc. So I think they're just going to come out flying here. And I think both teams score. Newcastle obviously blanked St James's Park last time out, and they've not done that in consecutive games since Steve Bruce was in charge. So that, with the continuing injuries that Arsenal have, I'm pretty confident that both teams score here, and I think Arsenal win. So by default, that's at least 3 goals higher.
A similar thought process, to be fair. I do think Arsenal might nick this one, but I just think that they are struggling with their defensive situation at the moment. So Newcastle, are generally very, very tough to play against on their home turf. And that was very much a rarity when they didn't score and didn't get a positive result last time out against Brighton. I think they knocked on the door quite loudly though and didn't come in. Good news for them though is
not quite loud on the door and didn't come in.
Didn't come in.
Unwelcome.
Weren't allowed in.
Leave.
Yes. Yeah. Leave. Yeah. Leave. Repelled.
Do you ever get it where you? I got to be careful. I don't want to come across like a bad neighbour. Where you know that there's someone delivering a parcel for your neighbours outside, and they knock on the door, and you're like, do you reckon I can get away with pretending I'm not here?
All the time.
Yeah.
It's, have you ordered anything? No. Well.
And what do you do?
Leave it.
So you don't go and answer the door?
I'd say 50-50,
Wow.
but
I had a thing the other day where I was at the back of our living room, and I don't think the guy could see me. And it wasn't even our parcel. The Amazon driver just threw a parcel through our open window and landed on the floor. And I was like, what are you doing?
You can't do that.
No. And I looked, and it wasn't even addressed to us. It was our neighbour. I was like, we're going to throw the slip through their window. Like, how does that work? Anyway, we digress. Carry on.
Yeah. Those at number 126, I always pick up.
I wish he had smacked on the door because I could have told him you're not welcome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Aggressive. My neighbours text me to let me know the parcel's coming. They're not going to be there and to be ready to accept.
Yeah, that's good. I should say that my neighbours are all lovely. So should make that
Disclaimer.
clear. Yeah.
Disclaimer. Yeah.
Are you done?
No, I'm not. I was not quite done.
Okay,
we did digress a little bit,
Yeah.
but I was just going to say the fact that Isaac and Gordon are both back a boost as far as Newcastle scoring is concerned. And of course, you've got Saka, Havertz, and Martinelli back in good form for Arsenal. And just the worry, I think, would be, I know Saliba is back for Arsenal, but Gabriel's possibly out. And the lineup that Arsenal defence took in the last 15 minutes against Liverpool would be a bit of a worry. Partey right back, White, Kiwior, and Lewis. Excuse me.
Oh,
Lewis,
hello.
Lewis Helvey.
It is a long
Getting
name.
choked up.
Indeed, it's an emotional time.
Yeah.
That late goal was emotional. So goals, enough. Over 3.
Yeah, I agree. You guys got it obviously very wrong last weekend with the Arsenal-Liverpool game, just edging over the goal minutes, but 4 goals in the game. I do think such a big part of Arsenal's good defensive record is the Saliba-Gabriel partnership, and Saliba being back is obviously good, but with Gabriel not there, Kiwior interestingly got 2 assists last night against Preston, playing centre-back, which you would normally expect. But we'll have to see how they go for this. And with Newcastle, I think it's kind of gone a bit far now, where yes, we normally expect them under Howard to be a high-scoring team. Hasn't really been the case. There have been angles already on this show in the last couple of weeks to kind of get against goals in Newcastle games. We had it with Chelsea recently. But I think when you've got a Newcastle side at home who will be set up to attack against a vulnerable, if you're ever going to get a vulnerable Arsenal defence, this is going to be it. And the line is below 3. I think we can side with goals there. So only one of Newcastle's games so far this season at home have gone over 2.5, but that was a 2-1 win over Spurs, and probably the game that will most, in terms of profile of clubs and the rest of things, most mirror what this will be. So, yes, I'm with you guys, and I think probably 3 is likeliest. But it wouldn't be a massive surprise if there are goals in this one. Moving on to our next game that we are covering on this week's show, which is Wolves against Crystal Palace. I think this is a new market for us.
Yeah, I saw it and I thought we have not discussed that before, so let's throw it in.
Goals.
First half goals it's a little bit of a weird one to put in.
No, it's not.
Fine.
1.2 with spread X as the midpoint. So if you're going lower, you think it'll either be 0-0 or 1-0 to either team after the first half. And higher would be 2 or more. So it's
Correct.
all about first half goals.
Yeah.
That's with spread X. Wolves hosting Crystal Palace. A huge game. You have to think this for Wolves after those ridiculous scenes last weekend. Palace fresh off an impressive victory over Villa in the Carabao Cup as well. And again, a big game for them. 2 managers, I think, in Glasner and Gary O'Neill, who really need a win. 3, 2, 1.
I like this side of you, George. I really do.
What do you mean?
Just,
We
taking
disagree.
on goals. Like, yeah, mate, I'm happy for you to win if you're going to start going higher on goals lines.
I basically think that this is a game that, because it's so, we talk often about games where both teams take a point and move on. I think absolutely not the case here. For both of these sides, it is imperative that they win. To the extent, would it be a massive surprise if Wolves lose this game if they part company with Gary O'Neill? I personally don't think so. I think with Glasner as well, after that impressive work last season, he is desperate to find some results to lift them away from the relegation zone. So the way that Wolves' games have gone this season, especially at home, both teams have scored in every single game of theirs at home this season. Both teams have scored as cops in every single game, bar one of them generally this season, which was a 2-0 defeat at Arsenal. If you're not going to score in a game this season, probably away at Arsenal is the one where you're most likely not to score. And with Palace as well, we've seen their games be relatively high scoring too, especially on the road where BTTS has copped in 3 of their 4 games. So like we're seeing goalmouth action at both ends. I don't really see why this would start off being particularly cagey. I know that 2 goals in the first half is maybe a bit of a rarity, and I'm probably backing the odds against shot here. But I think both teams will set up to basically go from the whistle. Albeit frustration from Palace last night that despite a good result, Eze and one other came off injured, and Wharton came off injured, which obviously is not ideal. Jack.
Thanks for easily into the reasoning there. Yeah, you mentioned it's an outsider. 61% of games in the Premier League this season so far have been lower, so I've seen 1 or fewer goals in the first half. For Wolves, their 4 home games, 2 have been lower, 2 have been higher. But the 2 that were higher were Man City and Chelsea. That Chelsea game we keep referring to seemingly every week for one reason or another. So I kind of think, well, yeah, they're different size compared to the Palace, how they're looking at the moment. As far as Palace is concerned, none of their games this season away from home have gone, in fact, across all venues have seen over 1.5 first half goals. So only 6 goals scored in their first halves across their 9 fixtures in total. They are struggling offensively, and that Eze injury would be a concern. If he is going to be out for this one, that really blunts their creativity and goal scoring possibilities as well. They are the joint lowest scorers in the league as well, with 6 goals. But on the flip side of that, and another positive for this particular bet, only Newcastle have conceded less goals than them outside of the top 8. So fairly solid defensively against the Wolves side that, I think it's a big and important win. I think Wolves might actually nick this one, but that's irrelevant to the concept that I'm thinking there'll be 0 or 1 goals in the first half. Dan?
Only Ipswich have conceded more first half goals than Wolves, so I was thinking, maybe I have a higher.
Maybe you can do higher.
Maybe.
And you thought only a lunatic would do that.
Yeah, crazy guy. And Palace have scored the joint fewest first half goals, which, quickly put me down on the lower. Not much else to add. I actually agree that I think Wolves will nick this. Obviously, they're the home side too, so they have that going for them. But 2 goals in the first half is a step too far for me.
Good stuff. Spurs hosting Aston Villa in one of, I would say, as a neutral, probably the game that I'd want to watch the most. I'm with you. No? Reading Fleetwood.
Yeah. Definitely not Reading Fleetwood. But I think
Swansea.
I'd potentially watch that. Yeah. Probably not, actually.
Oh, okay.
Only just so I could message you over the weekend.
You just play golf.
Yeah, I'd rather be on the golf course than Reading Fleetwood.
Play on a Friday, like most football fans.
Yeah. I wish I had that privilege.
You got a job.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So Spurs, Villa, total goal minutes for SpreadX is the market we're looking at here. An understandably pretty high line. 170 to sell, 185 to buy. So 177.5 is the midpoint. We're going higher or lower. This is the total accumulative minutes the goals are scored within the game. So if there's one after an hour, it would be 60. If there's one after 60 and one after 65, it would be 125. So on, so forth. 3, 2, 1.
Oh my days.
What are you doing?
What do you mean?
I know it's Halloween, but you don't have to act crazy.
Oh, no. I thought it was April Fool's Day.
That would have been
Start
good.
again. Again, I kind of think we've sat here a few times this season and spoken about Spurs and how the perception of them is that they're really attacking, but actually their games this season haven't seen that many goals. But I kind of think this is 2 of the most relentlessly attacking sides in the whole division. In a game where I just cannot understand why there wouldn't be goalmouth action at both ends. I don't understand why we wouldn't see both teams be able to flex their attacking muscles. We've seen Spurs score 4 goals at home on 2 occasions against West Ham and Everton and 3 against Brentford. Villa are a side who consistently, within games, we see loads of goals. They've scored at least 2 goals in all 4 of their away games so far. I know you're looking for late goals here, but also the how tight these 2 teams are, where it seems pretty unlikely in my mind that we're going to see one of them kind of race 4 goals up early and then the game fizzles out, means there should be jeopardy throughout. This feels to me like a game basically tailor-made for total goal minutes, and we know that when things go crazy, it can rack up very quickly. So even though this is a relatively high line at 175 or 177.5, I should say, all you need is a couple of late goals if the game does descend into kind of chaos to make it happen. So I don't love it. Feels weird having gone higher on 3 goals markets already, but I feel relatively sound here after my goal minutes winner last week going higher.
Yeah, it's huge.
This is it would really surprise me if this is a game of 1 or 2 goals. Jack, why have you gone lower?
Well, this is, I'm probably in a similar vein to you. I'm uncomfortable in this position, but one I'm going to take. I just feel that it does, on the bare face of it, feel like there will be goals. I do expect there will be. I'm stunned that Villa are such massive outsiders for this one. That's another story that I've invested in. But yeah, I just feel lower. Say Tottenham.
Don't worry, mate. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, sorry. Sorry again. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's Tottenham, innit? And you just feel that potentially that positive result against Manchester City midweek in the Carabao Cup could then be that usual after it, that slump. And we saw them against Palace last week, where they're pretty dreadful, really. And they really struggled with Palace's intensity against them, turning the ball over Palace regularly in that final third. And I think they might well struggle against Villa, who were very much rotated as well in midweek, as opposed to Spurs, who went fairly strong. The bottom line is, I think it's a line I'm happy to take on because it is pretty high, and also based on the stats of the season so far, 2 of the 4 Spurs home games have gone over. So yeah, pick them really there. But that Everton one was 4-0, and that was just over at 184. The West Ham one was bigger at 2-2-1. But then it was Arsenal again, which you'd possibly say would be the most comparable one. They were expected to heavily beat Everton, Brentford, and West Ham, and they did. Although the Brentford game came in at 1-2-2 minutes, the Arsenal one is the most comparable one, I'd suggest, as far as 2 evenly matched teams, and that came in at 64 minutes, obviously only 1 goal. Average 147.75, median 153, and Villa away, none have gone over this line. So West Ham, Leicester, Ipswich and Fulham, so tough games to kind of compare, I guess, but the average at 138.25, median at 134.5. I think there's enough juice in the high line for me to have a play on a lower line here, albeit uncomfortably.
We're both uncomfortable.
We are.
Which is a shame.
But we're comfortably uncomfortable.
Exactly. Dan, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I'm also not that comfortable with this, but that's, I'm never comfortable if I'm going lower on the goals market. But I've actually written down here, when you see these 2 teams, I think you immediately think goals. And then that sort of tends to lend itself to a higher on the total goal minutes pick. But the last 4 between these 2 at Spurs have not really come close to hitting this line. And there have been goals in all 4 of them. You've got 129, 123, 165, I guess you could maybe argue is close. But then the 67. So it is kind of making me lean that side of it. The total goals market suggests there's going to be 4 goals here. So it's quite a tough... It's quite a tough pick when you're suggesting there's going to be 4 goals. If they're in the second half, you probably win easily. If they're in the first half, we probably win easily. So
I generally think there will be 3 or 4 goals in it, and I've just got to take it. I've took the line that I think they might come earlier rather than later. But yeah, it's a tough one to call when you're thinking goals, but as to when they're going to be. So
someone's angry somewhere.
I know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Right, on to the game that might also be seen as the best game of the weekend, but certainly probably not at this stage of the same quality as the one we just spoke about. But Manchester United host Chelsea. Chelsea obviously having a decent start to life under Enzo Maresca. Manchester United having a good start to life under Ruud van Nistelrooy.
Yeah. I should imagine Erik ten Hag was thrilled that his shot-shy, powder-puff attack finally clicked in with a 5-goal
watching
blast.
Casemiro score a 30-yarder after 10 minutes. Something like that.
Have that, Eric.
What a player.
A new manager bounce, yeah?
I'm surprised Anthony didn't want
We'll see.
We're looking at the supremacy market here, and there's nothing to choose between these 2, which is quite fun. So United, well, neither of these teams are favourite, but it's United over Chelsea. Minus 0.1 is the sell price, 0.1 is the buy price, so nothing between them whatsoever, meaning the midpoint is 0. So higher, for the purpose of this, is a United win. Lower is a Chelsea win. A draw, nothing done. Poosh.
I think so.
Right, so higher United, lower Chelsea, at Old Trafford. 3, 2, 1.
You do
New
have a
manager
lower
bounce.
back.
New manager bounce. No.
No, of course it's not new
All right,
manager bounce.
okay,
They've already had that.
Which new manager?
Just won
Has that
5-2.
already happened?
He might be.
Yeah,
another
which new manager
in.
bounce? No, it's going to be Ruud, isn't it, this week? Maybe not the following week, but Ruud for now. Yeah, I actually can't really believe I'm doing this, and it is a gut shot.
Don't panic.
But removing the draw, I'm like, right, I'm going to have to put my flag to a mast. Is that right saying? I usually get them wrong, but that sounded
to
about
a mast.
Right. Yeah, is that correct?
So what are you doing? You're
I'm putting it one side.
You're normally nailing your colours to a mast.
Yeah, nailing your colours to a mast.
There we go.
You're not putting your flag at half mast to mourn
to
the departure of Eric Ten Hag.
I'm not. I think United are probably quite happy about that.
Yeah.
As things go.
Ruben Amorim on his way in.
Yes, that'll be very, very interesting, I think.
It's about time they went to like one of the lesser ranked European leagues for a manager that excelled at that level to then come in and showcase himself in the Premier
League. As I say, this is a gut shot. And the key thing for me here is that Man United are massively underperforming their XG, more than any team in the Premier League, which says to me they are getting loads of chances, but they were not very confident under previous management. And as last night suggests, maybe they will be slightly more confident and they might start taking some of those chances. They've only lost once against Chelsea in the last 6, albeit most of the rest of them were draws. 2 wins for United, 3 draws in that time. I think just going back to the confidence, and I know it's completely different. It's the Carabao Cup. It's against Leicester, who rotated quite heavily. But the shackles did come off a little bit for Man United, which also resulted in them conceding 2 goals. So I just think this game is going to be so fun to watch. I think there's going to be a lot of goals. I think there's probably going to be a lot of cards. I think it's going to be the perfect game to get involved with spread betting in, basically, is what I'm saying. And having to pick one of the 2, United are at home. And I think maybe the new manager bounce does happen. I'm not saying that's the exact reason, but a more confident United side and at home, I'm leaning that way.
New manager bounce doesn't exist. Jack?
I actually backed Manchester United last night on a minus 1.75 handicap.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, I know it was in the end. It was a little bit.
Yeah.
I know, exactly right. Well, someone's got to.
Just glad someone's backing winners, to be honest.
It was touch and go for a while, wasn't it? But
was it?
Well, no, it was because Leicester kept coming out. I needed 3-goal margin, didn't I? For a full win. And if Man United were playing, obviously the line would be different, but I would be very confident if they were playing a mid to lower table side here. But they're playing Chelsea, and Chelsea have been really, really good this season, and they completely rotated as they have the ability to do in the Cup midweek. So that's irrelevant, and they were quite unlucky actually against Newcastle. But here, with their full strength side out, players in good form, really, really potent attack, I think they can go at Man United. And as you say, they might well be a little bit more open, which should be a worry for United, really, I think, given how Chelsea can go and exploit that. I just feel that Chelsea can cause plenty of damage. Tails are up. Very good confidence. The 4th best side in the Premier League in 2024 against United, who are ranked 8th best in 2024. All the stats under Eric Ten Hag, can you just throw them out? Or do you have to still consider that it's the same players, yes, under slightly different manager for the time being? Given the choice, definitely Chelsea for me. Yeah,
I agree. I think Chelsea are just really good. And for United, there might be something of an improvement. I think that Ten Hag may well have been quite a divisive character. And sometimes when a manager who's kind of overseen a period of poor performance does leave, there can be a freshening of the air, which can lead to something of a bounce, maybe. But you've got to basically judge it on its merits. And Chelsea have been superb on the road this season. We've already seen them win 3 games on the road. They were pretty good in defeat against Liverpool as well. And it's kind of gone, like there was so much noise about Chelsea last season and Pochettino and how bad they were and everything else. I kind of find it quite weird that there isn't more noise now being like, Chelsea quite good. Maresca's doing a good job, isn't he? Maybe that's because the perception is they should be a team challenging for the title, but they've got quite a long way to go in order to get there with a young squad. And I think United can hope that when Amorim comes in, he can settle them down as Maresca has done. So, Old Trafford obviously not quite the fortress that it once was. This is a pick and line where I'm just happy just to punt the team that I think is significantly better right now. And maybe we'll see United improve in future weeks. Yeah,
I think what United's problem is that it's not that under Ten Hag they were still creating plenty of chances. We saw that game against West Ham last week. It's not as if they didn't create the chances; they just didn't take them. Yeah. Is that going to be different just with the new guy stood on the touchline? they could still create those chances. They could still miss them. You know, their XG underperformance this season is the worst in the whole league.
Huge.
So, I just feel that there is enough scope here, as you say. It's a draw no bet, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy with Chelsea, given the form.
For sure. Finally, we have a West London derby. Fulham hosting Brentford. Time of first goal is the market we're looking at here. 32.5 is the midpoint with Sporting Index. So this is lower if you think there will be a goal within the first 33 minutes. Higher if you think it will be 33 or beyond for the first goal in this. Brentford's last game, obviously, a high-scoring affair when they hosted Ipswich. Higher or lower? 3, 2, 1. What?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm really surprised. This was the one where I was like, okay, I don't really have to do much research into this. This is obviously a higher.
Yeah, I was the same until I did the research.
Well, I mean, you're going to basically Brentford's games this season are strange and very high scoring because in part they've played 4 of their games at home against the teams who are currently the bottom 4 in the whole league, and that has meant they've had a 3-1, a 5-3, a 4-3, and 2-1. However, away from home, it's been way less free-flowing. They've only scored 3 goals in their 4 games away from home. They've lost all 4 of them. So I'm willing to basically ignore the home form and think that Brentford's high goal line is going to be driven further downwards. I know that Fulham are obviously a side who have... from an attacking point of view, have done pretty well this season. Their game's been relatively high-scoring. But when you throw into the mix the fact that they have been... Sorry, this is a derby game, and that both teams really hate each other, and it's going to be a derby atmosphere, and that can often lead to really cagey, really bitty games, especially to start with. I'm happy to play lower. Dan, why did you change your mind?
Well, see, I knew that if I came in here and Brentford were the team that I was going to say, well, they score loads of own goals, you would rip me to shreds. Yeah. So I'm not doing that, and I was actually very surprised when looking at Fulham's time of first goals, particularly at home. They've scored first in all of their home games this season, and all of them well below this line. Yeah. I actually haven't written the numbers down, so you might have them, Jack, but to my memory, quite a lot of them were in the 5th minute, which is obviously a pretty big... 2 of them, yeah, there we go. We're in the 5th minute, which is obviously quite a big win here if you're going lower. But yeah, I just think you've got 2 teams here that have shown already this season that they like to score early goals. Well, everyone likes to score early goals, but these 2 teams have been doing it. Both teams have scored in all of Fulham's home games this season as well, so they're scoring and they're conceding. And yeah, we don't need to talk about Brentford's goal records because you've already done it and said it's terrible away from home.
Yeah.
Well, only there's been a first half goal in every single one of their respective home and away games for starters.
About time that turns around, isn't it?
Yeah. Is it though? It just keeps on going, doesn't it? When both sides can come to the party, as we saw last week with Ipswich and Brentford. And that one was only one has been over this goal line as well. So Man United, Brentford's last away game was 45th minute. Prior to that, you mentioned the times. Fulham at home, 5-5, 24 and 18. Brentford away, 13, 1, 1 and 45. And both these sides score goals and concede goals. And there has been a history in this particular fixture of the last couple of seasons of, especially at Craven Cottage, of goals. It was Brentford won 3-0 last season and Fulham won 3-2 the season before. I think for me, Brentford with Mbomo and Visser up top is a real potent threat. And I think Fulham were quite tight defensively at the start of the campaign, and that's not been such the case recently. And I just feel that both these sides coming together will result in actually a really attractive Monday night football, which has been a bit unusual recently. So I'm looking forward to it, actually. And I think there will be an early goal. Which
No.
Yeah. And then I think that will unravel after then.
Let's hope so.
Right. That brings us to the end of the televised games. But it's nap time and the pressure is on, Dan, because you're on a bit of a nap run,
Go
aren't
for
you?
5 here.
5.
Go nap.
A bit dizzy because I probably didn't have 5 last season.
No,
we didn't do them. Definitely didn't do them. We aren't done with the televised games because I'm going back.
Oh my goodness gracious me!
Take it back.
I'm going back to Manchester United versus Chelsea.
You've already sided with United.
I've already sided with United, but
Your
this
nap
one
is cards times corners times goals.
I wish it was, I'm not brave enough for that
Okay.
right now because I'd like to keep this streak going. But I mean, I don't know the price from the top of my head, but I probably would be a buyer of that after what I've already said.
Rainbow
this
goals.
game's going to be carnage. No, it's goal minutes. Wanted to take a player on, but I couldn't really nail one. I was looking at Casemiro for a bit, but anyway, I'm going for penalty goal minutes.
Oh,
wowzers. Hello.
I'm going higher at 16.5, which felt a little bit low to me, but I don't often play this market, so I don't know what the averages are.
Hoyland's going to score a penalty in the second minute and the 6th minute again.
Probably, yeah. Probably. But no, this is purely down to the fact that there's usually penalties when these two sides play each other.
Yeah.
There's been 5 penalties in the last 6 meetings between the two teams. Obviously, there was 2 for Chelsea the last time these both met, and Cole Palmer scored both of them. Which is another reason why I think this is quite nicely, because you kind of need to score. And Chelsea have got Cole Palmer, who's very capable from the spot. United have got Fernandes and Rashford, who are also quite capable. As I said, 2 for Chelsea last time, then a blank, and 1 for United, 1 for Chelsea. Blank, and another one. So across the board, there seems to be penalties here. Both teams have given away 2 penalties each this season. And the man with the whistle, Robert Jones. He has the 4th highest foul average in the league of any ref, and he's already awarded 2 penalties this season, which may not sound like loads, but 2-2-2 across the 2 teams in the ref. Feels like a decent average, having only played 9 games. United's defence can be a little bit calamitous at times. Chelsea have a very strong, fast-paced attack. And I've already said I think United will be a little bit more confident here, so you think the likes of Garnacho, Rashford, Etal will be piling into the box. 16.5 feels low. Hopefully I can continue my streak. Higher penalty goal minutes.
Jonesy loves the first half card as well.
There we go.
There you go. Love it. Jack, what's your nap?
I'm going back to a televised game as well.
Yes.
In that Wolves versus Crystal Palace game. And I'm going for player goal minutes.
Oh,
Yes.
you're going to this. I remember about this one.
Yeah.
We didn't do it with
We didn't.
Vardiol.
It's a very similar theme.
Here we go.
Very similar theme.
Nuri.
Correct.
Yes.
Well read.
I didn't say that. That's unfair.
Scroll that back.
I was just
and see
looking
the
to make
eye line.
sure. Yeah.
Right out Nori. Midpoint 7.5. Nice little line I like. Anything under 10, I'm pretty happy with this. So I do think there could be goals. The 2-2 against Brighton, could that be a turning point for Wolves? So I think they might well nick it. For Palace, for me, they do have a weakness down their right side. And I think that's because Munoz loves to push right on, which does give them susceptibility in behind him. Trevor Chalobah is normally the sort of right side of the 3 centre-backs that side, and I think this is a good matchup for Ait Nouri, who's been playing more advanced in his last couple of games as well. Scored last time out, of course, in that 2-2 draw. In fact, he scored in 3 of his last 4 fixtures, which was a bit high for what I was expecting, to be fair. But he seems to get in the right place at the time. And what I like about him is he can pop up in the box and say find himself in the right place at the right time. He's also that kind of player that can go and effectively go and create his own chances and finish him off. I looked at the shots against Palace, and Forest, it was Moreno left back, had 2 shots in that game. Dominguez, who played sort of the left side of midfield, had 2 in that game, and Callum Hudson-Odoi had 2 as well. That was in there. I watched that game. I was on TV again a couple of Mondays ago, wasn't it, as well? And in midweek, Villa, Maatsen playing left back, also had 2 shots against them. So there's a lot of data, goes back further than that as well, but a lot of data would suggest that there's a lot of joys to be had down that side. And with Ait Nouri in his form at the moment, and generally, since we've seen him in the Premier League, a player who poses a lot of attacking threat, and he's playing in a more advanced role currently. He's only played that advanced role 3 times this season. He's had 4 shots on target across those games. So for me, yeah, a nice low line in a game where I think they can exploit that area, him or Cunha, in those kind of left-hand sided areas, and I can see him continuing his scoring form.
Great stuff. Right, my nap is in the Championship. You'll be shocked to hear. And it's in Oxford United against Swansea.
Okay.
Live on Sky. Plus.
Not sure why.
Specials Plus. 12:30 on Saturday. Swansea haven't scored a goal in 5 games.
Unsustainable?
My nap is first Swansea goal, selling at 53. So yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. A few reasons for this. You know, I'm an Oxford fan. I love the lads. I hope I'm wrong. But our performances have taken a bit of a turn since we went to Luton and drew 2-2 in a really good display. Since then, we were the worst team against Pompey and drew 1-1. The poorer team against West Brom and drew 1-1. Against Derby, we weren't very good and we drew 1-1. We went to Sunderland and barely laid a glove on them and lost 2-0. I'm a bit worried. We've got bad injuries, Brannigan being the key one, but basically loads of injury issues, especially in wide areas. There's a chance I think we're going to shift to a back 3 or a back 5 on Saturday, which I don't love because it hasn't really been what we've recruited for. And Swansea have scored 0 goals from 6 expected goals in their last 5 games. Like, that is ridiculous. It's just a really bad run of finishing. And I think, I've had a message from a Swansea fan or two in the last 24 hours baffled as to why Swansea are favourites to win this game, but I think it's fair. And I think that it's not going to be long until Swansea get on the score sheet. And I wouldn't be surprised if we struggle to keep them out early. So with a heavy heart, and hoping I'm wrong, my best bet of the weekend is selling Swansea first goal at 53.
Seems quite a high line, that.
Yeah.
Yes. So like first half goal and you're laughing. There we have it. That brings this week's episode of Higher or Lower to a close. We will be back again next week where Oxford are playing live on Friday night on Sky against Watford, Dan. So I look forward to talking about that one. Any clashes?
I haven't looked that far ahead, mate. I'm solely focused on this weekend.
Good stuff.
Clash of kit.
Yeah. The whole stadium just shouting yellows.
Yeah, brilliant. Oh, what a
Really
dream.
good. Yeah. We had it on opening day, didn't we, as well?
No, enough of that.
Make sure you check out SpreadX and Sporting Index for all your spread betting needs. Remember that losses can exceed your initial deposit. If you haven't got an account already, click on the link in the show description and you can sign up for one there. There is a new customer offer that you can find through that link. T's and C's do apply. Check out oddschecker for all your fixtures betting needs as well. And whoscored.com has you covered for all the stats that we've gone through today. Thank you to Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you to Jack.
Thank you, George.
We'll see you again next week. In the meantime, please enjoy the football and ensure that you are gambling responsibly.